everyone, my name is April Corley-Sloop and I'm the Events and Marketing Coordinator for Harrisburg Parks and Recreation. We are so glad that you decided to join Storytime today. Today's Storytime comes from the Cabarrus County Library, so make sure you put on your thinking cap and bundle up as you learn more about winter wildlife.
Hello everybody, I am Mr. Davey and I'm with the Harrisburg Library. And the Harrisburg Parks and Rec asked us to work with them to do a very special winter wildlife story time. So we're going to read a book about winter wildlife, and then Mr. Daniel with Harrisburg Parks and Rec will be doing a really cool activity with you guys. So we are going to start off with Under the Snow, which is about what happens with all sorts of different animals do during the winter, how they hibernate, how they live, why it is covered with snow outside. I know we may not get a lot of snow here, but in some places they get feet of snow. So this kind of explains what different animals do during those times. So let us go ahead and read. Under the Snow, written by Melissa Stewart, illustrated by Constance Burgum. Read with permission by Peachtree. In the heart of winter, a deep layer of snow blankets fields and forests, ponds and wetlands. You spend your days sledding and skating and having snowball fights, but under the snow lies a hidden world. Under the snow, in a field, dozens of ladybugs pack themselves into a gap in an old stone wall. Below them, a snake rests in a hole all its own. Voles spend their days tunneling through the snow. When they find a young tree, they slowly strip off layers of bark and eat them. Below the ground, a chipmunk snoozes for a few days at a time. Between naps, it snacks on the nuts and seeds stored in its burrow. Under the snow in the forest, a morning cloaked butterfly takes a cover in a pile of brush. Inside a rotting log, a centipede and a bumblebee queen remain silent and still until spring. A wood frog nestles in a scattered leaves on the forest floor. It can freeze solid and still survive. Not far away, a woolly bear caterpillar spends the winter curled up in a tight ball. Just below the ground, a spotted salamander waits out the coldest months of the year. Deeper down, a woodchuck sleeps soundly all winter long. Its heart rate drops and its breathing slows. The animal gets all the energy it needs from its thick layer of fat. Under the snow, on a pond, bluegills circle slowly through the chilly water. They don't have enough energy to chase the water boatmen swimming nearby. A carp rests quietly on the muddy bottom. It isn't even tempted by the water strider laying just a few inches away. Buried in the mud, a frog and a turtle wait out the winter. They never move and they barely breathe. Under the snow in a wetland, a beaver family huddles together inside a cozy log lodge. When they get hungry, they swim to their food storage pile and munch on some sticks. But even on the coldest winter's day, red-spotted newts dodge and dart, whiz and whirl just below the ice. As time passes, the sun's rays slowly grow stronger and stronger. Each day is a little bit longer. Animals living in the field and forest, pond and wetlands begin to get ready for spring. And so do you. The end. Wasn't that a wonderful book? You didn't know what some of those animals did, and even insects did, when winter came. So, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Daniel with Harrisburg Parks and Rec with a really cool activity for you guys to do now. And see you guys next time.
Woo! What a great story, Under the Snow. Thank you, Mr. Davey, for reading that to all of the town of Harrisburg and those viewing the video online. As he said, Mr. Davey, my name is Mr. Daniel. I'm with the town of Harrisburg Parks and Recreation. I guess I can take this off now since we're indoors. But man, that story made me feel cold to the bone. As Mr. Davey mentioned, we're going to do an activity together. I do recommend adult supervision because it can get a little messy. We're going to be working with ice, water, pennies, or whatever coin change you got lying around in our hands. So just as a reminder, you're going to need the following items. I believe I forgot to mention earlier, but this will help out. You're going to need a tub or a bucket to hold the ice and water in. You're going to need some ice. You're going to need some water. And you're going to need change, pocket change, doesn't matter. I need some pennies. And again, I suggest adult supervision because this activity can get a little messy. All right, so let's get started. First, I'm going to pour some water into my tub here. I'm filling it almost, let's say about halfway. Let me show you real quick. So I filled up my water, if you can see here, at the black line. I filled it up halfway. And the reason I filled it up halfway is I want to be able to put my hand all the way as far as I can down in the water. All right, let's do the next step. Let's add some ice. Got my ice here. I'm just gonna drop a little bit of ice. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. For me, drop some in here. Drop a little bit more. And now let me show you how it looks. All right, as you can see, I got some ice in the water. It's floating on top, as ice does. It's less dense than water. It is a solid, but we can discuss that at a later activity in time. The difference between solids, liquids, gases, and the in-between. So, whether you know it or not, humans, we have a little bit more difficulty than our relatives, our mammals, our friends, whether it's our pets, to regulate our body temperature. We don't have fur, that's why we wear clothes, for instance, to keep as warm as possible as we can. If we had fur, if we had fat, such as like the whales, such as the polar bears, or for even instance, there's a type of frog called the wood frog that's able to still swim during winter underneath the ice because it can create its own version of antifreeze. That's pretty cool. All right, let's do the next step. I got my pennies here. I believe I'm gonna add all of them. You don't have to, but I'm gonna add all of mine. I'm just gonna kind of drop them in there and toss them in there. Spread them out as evenly as I can. Some may land on top of each other. That's okay for this activity. You can hear the pennies dropping in the water. So now that we've added our ice, water, and pennies to the tub, let's get started with the activity. So this activity is based off hypothermia. You're asking, what is hypothermia? It's a condition where your body your body heat drops faster than it can regulate. Our normal body temperature is 98.6 roughly. When you go into a state of hypothermia, it drops drastically. Once you get below 95 degrees temperature in your body, that's when you go into a state of hypothermia. Obviously, your body temperature drops. If you're in water, you freeze, it's cold, it's wet. Some things that accompany hypothermia are things like frostbite, things like dehydration sometimes, trouble breathing, and if you're in, say, ice water for too long, your heart goes into a state of shock, and you can possibly go into cardiac arrest. But don't worry, this is just an activity. We're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna play with some ice and water. We're gonna try to get as many pennies as we can, one at a time, during a time span. I'm shooting for 60 seconds. I'm gonna try to get as many as I can, and then we're gonna talk about it afterwards. All right, we're about to begin. So we're gonna count down to 1, then we're gonna start. And as the timer goes from 60 to 0, we're gonna take out 1 penny at a time. Let's get ready to start. In 3, 2, 1, begin. "15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so how'd you guys do? For me personally, as the time went on, it got harder and harder to grab 1 penny at a time. My hand was getting so cold. It just seemed like it was just getting colder and colder. It's getting harder to grasp the pennies. I don't know how many you guys got, but I think I got, let's take a look. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And believe it or not, there were a whole lot more that I could not get within those 60 seconds. All right, guys, I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something about wildlife from under the snow, from the activity that we did with ice water, a little bit about hypothermia, a little bit about animals that we are around from day to day, even during the winter time. Hope you didn't freeze your hands too much. Hopefully you got the feeling back by now. If not, just gently blow in there. And just move your hand slowly back and forth until you get feeling back in your hand. All right, that's the activity. My name again is Mr. Daniel from the town of Harrisburg Parks and Recreation. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. You guys please stay safe and healthy out there. We'll see you next time. Bye.